Hello, I'm Tanya.
And I'm David.
And we are out side by side. This week we are at the amazing Yellowstone National Park.
This place is very large and we only have about 4 days, so we just wanted to show you a little bit of the things that we got to see.
If you have any questions, please put them below.
Thank you for watching.
We arrived at Yellowstone National Park through the west side, and the first thing we wanted to do was see Old Faithful. Old Faithful is a cone geyser in the park, and it was named in 1870 during the Washburn-Langford expedition and was the first geyser in the park to be named. It's a highly predictable geothermal feature and has erupted every 44 minutes to 2 hours since the year 2000.
We waited about 45 minutes to see it erupt. This is a time lapse showing the time before it erupted. Eruptions can shoot up to 8,400 gallons of boiling water to a height of 106 to 185 feet, lasting from 1.5 to 5 minutes. The average height of an eruption is 145 feet.
During an eruption, the water temperature at the vent has been measured at 204 degrees Fahrenheit. The steam temperature has been measured above 350 degrees Fahrenheit. It's important to stay a safe distance from the thermal features and never leave the boardwalk to walk on a geyser's fragile crust. Under proper lighting, Beryl Springs shines like the blue-green gemstone, beryl. Its activity and that of adjacent springs was greatly altered by the 1959 earthquake. The violent agitation of the water is due to volcanic gases, mostly steam. The temperature of the water is usually a few degrees below boiling. It generally oscillates between 188 degrees Fahrenheit and 192 Fahrenheit and is one of the hottest springs in Yellowstone. In thermal areas, the ground may be only a thin crust above boiling hot springs or scalding mud. Some pools are acidic enough to burn through boots. More than 20 people have been scalded to death and hundreds more badly burned and scarred by stepping off the boardwalk. Leaving the boardwalk or trail beyond this point or taking pets into the geyser basin is unlawful and potentially fatal.
The Artist Paint Pots is a 1-mile trail that enters a partially burned lodgepole pine forest, then winds across a wet meadow on a boardwalk. The hydrothermal area within the short loop at the end of the trail contains colorful hot springs, mud pots, and small geysers. Caution for flying mud.
Thermal features were here long before the constraints of barriers and boardwalks. They may be under your feet anywhere in any thermal basin, and new ones are constantly breaking through the crust and changing while old ones are drying up or maybe only going dormant for a year, a decade, a century. They exist in their own time and place.
Mud pots are acidic hot springs with a limited water supply. Acid from volcanic gases and microorganisms decompose the surrounding rock into a clay and mud. Mud pot consistency and activity vary with the seasons and precipitation.
When visiting Yellowstone National Park, keep in mind that change is always constant. A new hot spring may have erupted so recently that there has been no time to post warnings. Always stay alert around thermal features. Norris Geyser Basin is the hottest, oldest, and most dynamic of Yellowstone's thermal area. The highest temperature yet recorded in any geothermal area in Yellowstone was measured in a scientific drill hole at Norris Geyser, 459 degrees Fahrenheit, just 1,087 feet below the surface.
Steamboat Geyser in Norris Geyser Basin is the world's tallest currently active geyser. Steamboat Geyser is entirely unpredictable, with eruption intervals ranging from 3 days to 50 years.
Porcelain springs constantly change. It may be full of water from new springs or geysers, or it could be dry and quiet. Patches of brilliant blue are salts containing sulfur, arsenic, and boron. Norris Geyser Basin is split into two areas, Porcelain Basin and the Back Basin. Each area has its own set of trails. The Porcelain Basin side of Norris Geyser can be explored on two easy boardwalk loops. The main loop is about half a mile long, and an auxiliary loop brings the total to 1.1 mile.
A colloidal pool is a large, shallow acid pool, usually with opalescent, bright blue water. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, colloidal pools have had rapid and noticeable changes in activity, pool color, and chemistry in 2021. Complex of hot springs on a hill of travertine in Yellowstone National Park. It was created over thousands of years as hot water from the spring cooled and deposited calcium carbonate. The hot water that feeds Mammoth comes from Norris Geyser Basin after traveling underground via a fault line that runs through limestone and roughly parallel to the Norris Mammoth Road. The limestone from rock formations along the fault is a source of the calcium carbonate.
Cupid Spring is a small group of terracets formed along break and slope of runoff areas. Algae that grow in the runoff area of this spring impart a reddish-brown color. White travertine is freshly deposited. Grayish areas are older travertine deposits from springs that are no longer active.
Deep beneath us, magma from an active volcano heats water that rises to the surface through fissures in the rocks. The result is a hot spring that pours almost 500 gallons of hot water each minute into the Firehole River.
The Grand Prismatic Spring is the largest and one of the most brilliant of Yellowstone's many colorful hot springs. Its massive expanse stretches approximately 200 feet across.
That's the weirdest thing.
Isn't it though?
Cold and hot all at the same time.
The billions of colorful microorganisms lining the hot springs runoff channels are called extremophiles because they live in conditions that were once thought to be too extreme to host life. Extremophiles that live in hot springs are called thermophiles, also known as heat lovers. This is just a few of the geothermal features in Yellowstone National Park.
Among so many other things to see, it is also a supervolcano that is home to the largest concentration of mammals in the lower 48 states.
Now the question is, when will you visit Yellowstone National Park?